The Moto Razr Plus was just announced and I've had 2 hours of hands-on time with the phone. But is this enough to make Samsung worried about the Flip 4 and the Flip 5 coming out soon? It has a better screen, better cameras, and a more impressive build. I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja, and let's talk about it. This is the Moto Razr Plus. It's a clamshell style of flipping phone. On the outside, there's a 3.6-inch POLED display that nearly covers the whole front of the phone. The screen does a lot. You have access to different apps, games, settings, and pretty much anything on your phone. Also, you get access to a full keyboard. Moto's whole thing is that you use the phone closed and then you can open it up when you want to do more things. It helps you stay more connected to what's happening on the outside world and you're not inundated with such a large screen. And I actually believe in that vision. And many phone companies have said the exact same thing, but there hasn't been one phone that nailed this execution in my opinion. Is this phone any different? When you open up the phone, you have a nice 6.9-inch Full HD Plus display, and it goes up to 360 Hertz when gaming, which looks as good as it sounds. Now the screen is pretty bright at 1400 nits, it's vivid, and it's great when scrolling and interacting with it. I didn't get a chance to play any high-end games yet, but I'm excited to see how it games with these high refresh rate numbers. When the phone comes out later in June, there's going to be only one SKU with the phone. And this phone has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, and it's going to be under $1,000 at $999. And to be honest, it's cheaper than what I was expecting this phone to be when it was first rumored. This phone comes in 3 different colors: Infinite Black, Glacier Blue, and Viva Magenta, which is a T-Mobile or Motorola.com exclusive. The phone is covered in Gorilla Glass Victus and it has a 7000 series aluminum frame. Now the only exception is that the Viva Magenta version has a vegan leather backing. Moto did an amazing job with the build quality. The hinges on this phone are smooth with a fluid opening and closing motion. When it's closed, there are absolutely no gaps and it's just one solid slab. Moto is saying this is the thinnest foldable phone out, and when comparing it to the Flip 4 side by side, Moto does have a point. This build is absolutely fantastic, and the part that gets me is just when it's closed, it is flat. There's no teardrop, there's no little chin, there's nothing where you can see through it. It is absolutely flat. Now one feature I love is that when you're in an app on the external display, you can open it up and then resume the app on the larger internal display. And then you could actually go back to the smaller display by closing it, and then there's an option that pops up asking you if you want to continue using the app. That right there is useful, and it sort of blends the two worlds together. It blends the internal display world and the external display world. Whereas some flipping or folding phones, it feels like the inner display and outer display sometimes gets disconnected from each other. And this goes to the camera too, giving you access to the outside screen as a camera viewfinder. Sure, this is not a new feature at all, but it's a feature that you must have when you have an external display like this. Now speaking of camera, the main display camera is 32 megapixels and the external display is 12 megapixels and a 13 megapixel for the ultra wide and macro. I was able to grab some quick camera samples, and from my initial thoughts, it feels like a mid-range type of camera. Not just the specs, but some of the post-processing things that we're seeing. And the good news about that is that post-processing is a software thing and that can always get better with time. And of course, this could be demo software. There could be a number of factors on why the images look this way, so definitely take this with a grain of salt. Make sure you press subscribe because I will be reviewing the phone and the camera in its entirety later in the month, and I'll let you know if any of this has changed. It has a 3800 milliamp battery with 30 watt wired charging and 5 watt wireless charging. I am curious to see what battery life would look like since the external display is so large. And then also 30 watt wired and 5 wireless charging isn't really a high-end spec anymore. Some phones are charging much faster now, and 5 watts wireless charging is pretty slow. That is going to be a overnight charge type of thing, or just like at your desk while you're working type of thing. So the Z Flip 4 is now 10 months. So obviously Motorola has had a chance to see what Samsung kind of brought to the table, and I think it definitely shows. Some of the pain points that I have with the Z Flip, Motorola definitely did address it. Obviously there's gonna be Z Flip 5 coming out really soon, and I think with this phone there definitely needs to be some changes to really compete with the hardware of what Motorola is doing. It's too early to call software, but I love what Motorola is doing with the hardware and also the limited time I've had with the software. When it comes to foldable, the Razr Plus, in my opinion, hardware-wise, is one of the best ones I've seen and used. I just need to see how the software stacks up and also how the camera works over time. But if you want to know more about the Z Flip 4, make sure you watch this video right here.